back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about everything that I keep on my spice rack, all of the different spices, the dry masalas, the whole spices, and all the other spices that I keep on my spice rack. And I will also show you how is it that I have organized my entire spice rack so that it gives you a clear idea of the different storage containers that you should use for different kinds of spices. And how is it that you can utilize a small space to ensure that all of your everyday use spices are readily available in front of your eyes. So without wasting much time, let's get started. As most of you already know, I use a corner shelf like this, a wooden one, to organize all of my everyday use spices and masalas close to my working station in the kitchen so that I have easy access of everything that I need on a daily basis. So let's go through this section by section. In the bottommost section, I use this space to keep the good old masala box, which is usually present in every single Indian household. So this is where I keep all of my everyday staples. So let me open and show you all the different masalas that I keep in this particular box here. So in this box, I have 7 different small bowls which can be used for keeping different masalas. So in this, I keep only my absolute essentials. So I have the black pepper powder, which I usually make on my own in the house. I get the black pepper pods and I grind it. The other one is dhania powder. A lot of people also keep jeera powder along with dhania powder in this, but I prefer keeping just cumin seeds. And if I need jeera powder, I roast these seeds at that time and then I grind them. I don't find a lot of value in keeping just dry jeera powder in these containers because I feel the aroma kind of fades away really quickly. Then I keep turmeric powder. This is the red chili powder, Kashmiri red chili powder, which is not the very spicy one, but the one that I use primarily for adding a lot of color to most of my Indian curries, especially non-vegetarian curries. In the bowl next to that, I keep the spicy red chili masala. This is again a staple in most Indian cooking and I get this one from Everest ka Tikha Lal, because I find this to have the optimum level of spice which I particularly prefer in most of my food. And in the center one, I keep the salt. I have now switched over to using low sodium salt, which is Tata Salt Light. If you want to reduce your sodium intake, you can also switch over to this. In this bottom shelf, I have also kept some whole spices here. I will come back to showing all of these whole spices to you in the next section. First, I will cover up all the dry masala blends that I keep in the shelves above these. So in the shelf above this, in the second and the third shelf, I keep most of my dry masala blends. Now why do I keep so many masala blends is because it significantly takes down the cooking time. For example, if I have to make pav bhaji, it's very convenient to have pav bhaji masala instead of combining 20 different masalas to come to that flavor pattern. So I already keep a lot of these pre-made masala blends. Some of them I make on my own, some of them I buy from the store directly, and this is what I store in the shelves number 2 and 3. So let me show you the different masalas that I keep. The first one is the korma masala. Now this is not something that I made on my own. This is from Shan Masala brand, which I really like. I've mentioned in a lot of my previous videos as well. So this korma masala is a beautiful blend of a lot of spices. It also has a lot of whole spices in the masala blend itself. So this is what I use not just for making a lot of chicken curry recipes, but I also make this particularly for paneer and for my aloo ki sabzi. So what happens is that you start experimenting with these masalas and you figure out that it also works with a lot of other recipes. So this is what I have. The other one is a chicken curry masala, which I bought from this brand called Rupak. Now this, I was not aware of this brand at all, but I recently found out about this and I absolutely love the kind of stuff they have. So this chicken curry masala is very flavorful. It has about 45 different ingredients. When I was reading the label, there were about 45 different items in this masala, and there's no way I could have possibly come up with a recipe like this. It looks so beautiful in color and everything. So this is again something that I really like storing with me, so that I can use this not just in while making chicken, but I sometimes also use this for making mutton, for making paneer and things like that. The third one that I have here is the dal makhani masala, which is again from this brand Rupak. After I really liked their chicken curry masala, I tried using this one and I have not been disappointed for even a single second. This is absolutely delicious. I use it not just for making dal makhani but also for making my regular dal tadka. This is really spicy, really tangy, and adds a really good flavor pattern to my dals. Okay, so the next things I have, I'm not too sure if this is present in most Indian households, but I personally find a lot of value out of using these three masalas. One is onion powder, garlic powder, and the third is the dried ginger powder. Now, how are these masalas made and why did I start using them was because they just have really strong flavor in very little quantity to be used. So onion powder is made out of dry onion peels, garlic powder is made out of dried garlic, and dry ginger powder is made out of course dried ginger. And I use all three of them specifically when I'm making a lot of non-veg food or very thick rich Indian curries like dal makhani, or if I'm making paneer butter masala and things like that. It really adds a blast of flavor. So despite adding your onions and garlics, just adding a little bit of these powders adds beautiful flavor to your curries. The next three items that I have on the second shelf are the pink salt. This I keep it in the grinder that it came in itself. I don't transfer it because it's much easier to add the salt with the grinder. The next one I have is the tandoori masala. Now this is a blend that I have made on my own. I have used about 6 to 7 different ingredients and I have put them together to make this blend. Do let me know if you'd like to know the recipe of my tandoori masala. Maybe I can do a completely different video on different masala blends that I come up with every now and then. This one I use for marinating a lot of my paneers, marinating chicken, marinating mutton, and any of those dry preparations if I'm making. This masala comes in really handy at the time of making. Then I don't have to add a lot of ingredients. Just adding 1 or 2 tablespoons of just this particular masala blends does the job. The next one I have is this tropical heat grinder, and I absolutely love this one. I use this for making pastas, for making soups, for making most of my not so Indian dishes, because this adds a nice spicy flavor, which of course as Indians we like in most of our food, and kind of gives a different kind of a twist to the continental food, which is something that I really enjoy using. So both of these grinders are from Only, and the tandoori masala I have made on my own. So this covers up the second shelf of my spice rack. Let's move on to the third one. So in the third shelf again I have kept a lot of these masala blends which I use on a day-to-day basis. So let's see what are the things I have here. So first is this Allahabad dum aloo masala. So Allahabad has a very specific kind of dum aloo which they prepare, and both Paritosh and I really like it. I was actually introduced to this masala by my bhabi, and then she gave us some to try, and then we loved it so much that we used up the entire thing. And then I had to Google a lot and I found this recipe of making this masala, and then I made this masala blend on my own, and now we use this for making most of our dum aloo. The next is this chili powder. Now this is different from the chili powder that I have in my spice box. This is because I found some really good dry chili once I had gone for grocery shopping, and I found it. So I came back and I made a powder out of the dry red chili that I got from there, and that's the chili powder that I store in this one. This is of course a lot more spicy than the chili powder that I have in my box, and I use it once in a while, especially when I'm making some non-vegetarian dishes or for dishes that I particularly want to be really spicy. The next one is the pav bhaji masala. Now this is not something that I made on my own. I always buy the Everest pav bhaji masala because that's what I really like. I use this not just for making pav bhaji, but I use this for my poha. I use it for bread poha. I sometimes add it to my Maggi also. So this is again a very versatile masala, and in fact it's almost like a replacement for garam masala. You would notice that I haven't kept like a garam masala powder specifically in my masala box. That's because I use these masalas instead of using just the garam masala, because they are more specific to the kind of taste that the recipe demands. The next two are, the first is this tea masala, and this is something that I've made on my own, and I'm so proud of this particular masala blend that I've created. So, and this is something that I always add to the tea. Both Paritosh and I are not strong tea drinkers, but whenever we make it with this tea masala. Do let me know if you'd like to know the recipe for this one. The next is the sambar masala, which is of course it's a good thing to have because sambars are good replacement to dals once in a while when you want to eat something that's a little more interesting. So the one I use is from this brand called Eastern, and this is what I store here. And sambar masala sometimes I don't just use for sambar, but I also sometimes use it for making a lot of alus, because it really goes well with just making like a dry aloo preparation. So these are the dry masalas that I keep in the second and the third shelf of my spice rack. I keep everything clearly labeled because most of these masalas, they look very similar, so it gets really difficult to differentiate one from the other. So now moving on to all the dry whole masalas that I keep. I store them in these small boxes because they're really not used in very large quantities. So let's go through them one by one. These are the four masalas that I keep in the bottommost shelf. First is saunf. Now saunf is something that I use extensively for making my non-vegetarian dishes like chicken and mutton, specifically mutton, because it really adds a really good flavor. Sometimes I also add this to my paneer butter masala. Try adding a little bit of saunf to your paneer butter masala. It will give a blast of flavors. Next I keep elaichi, whole elaichis, and then black elaichi and poppy seeds. Poppy seeds again, it goes really well when you're making non-veg dishes, especially fish and all of that. Next, I keep cinnamon sticks. Again, this is something that I use not so much in entirety, but I use them for making a lot of dry blends. Next is davitri, which I use extensively for biryanis, for other things, and ajwain, which I use for making puris once in a while, which is again like a good addition to puris. The next I have jeera. So this is just the same jeera that I have in my spice box. I keep some here as well. Then I have black pepper pods and cloves, which are, of course, all three of them are used extensively for making a lot of like rice recipes and all of that. So yeah, all in all, this is how I have organized my spice rack. This really has every single thing that I need to use on a daily basis, and having spice blends specifically, it's a huge time saver. Ensure that you guys keep a lot of these spice blends in your kitchen, because you will be amazed by the amount of time you're actually saving by not adding 5 different masalas and just adding one thing, which also gives a lot more flavor to your recipe, but at the same time also saves a lot of your time. It's a complete win-win. So now storing your spices and dry masalas is a challenge, and I'm going to talk about that. So I use 3 different kinds of containers, of course, as you would have seen in the video so far. These are the containers that I use to store all of my spices and whole spices and dry masalas. So the first one is this, of course, the masala dabba, which is there in almost every Indian kitchen. And it's a good way to store masalas, first of all, because this steel box is very, very, it's airtight, and it stays in your family forever. Like, it's not something that will ever go bad. And of course, having all of your masalas in just one place is a very, very convenient way of storing it, because you don't end up wasting a lot of time finding every single masala every day. So this is definitely a staple. Moving on to your masala blends and your dry masalas. For this, I always suggest using glass airtight containers like the one that I have. The one that I have is very cheap to find. I got 6 of these for $2.99, which is really, really cheap. And what this does is that it really locks the aroma of your masalas. And that is the point of these masalas, to have that beautiful smell that comes from it. Using containers like these will ensure that your aroma is tightly packed in it. And for storing my dry whole masalas, I use very small containers, because I really don't use them in large quantities. Nobody needs them in large quantities. So keeping small containers saves a lot of space and ensures that you have everything readily available. So yeah, this is how I have organized my spice rack, every single thing that I have in my spice rack. And so far I have found this organization to be very convenient, because I have every single thing available with me. If there is one single takeaway that I would ask you guys to get from this video, it is the fact that try to keep as many dry masala blends as you can, so that you don't have to waste a lot of time adding different masalas every single time you're making something. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you found this video useful. Please do let me know in the comment section if you have any other tips for me, and ensure that you subscribe to my channel if you liked watching this video. I will see you next time. Bye bye.